So we spoke about how the arms and the legs contribute so much to the storytelling of a gesture in the previous lessons. We can now go a little further and talk about the relationship of props to a character. Let's consider a person drinking a glass of water. If we wanted to get the feeling of the person sipping the water to wet their throat, it would be different compared to someone who just crawled out of the desert, and different to someone who is running a marathon. Each gesture would have a different approach to the story of drinking water. Now, if you're drawing a prop in a scene, the prop would become the main focus of the story of the pose. We must make sure that we use the gesture to emphasize the character and the prop interaction, and not draw something that confuses the audience. In animation, you can use multiple drawings to tell that story, but here in this class, we are limited to only one sketch, so we have to communicate as much as possible and very clearly. Okay guys, I'm gonna do some demonstrations now of some gestures with props, right? And I'm gonna focus on emphasizing the prop and using the gesture to push the prop forward, and the story of the prop and the person interacting with the prop even more. So here we have a guy, flipping some dough for some pizza, and what I want to do is emphasize his gesture. Now he's kind of leaning back. Let me get another color here. Alright, so let me break down this. He's kind of leaning back this way, right? So his body is curving this way. So there's going to be a squash here at the back here. There's going to be a stretch here. He is tilting his head back, right? So there's going to be a curve here and a stretch here, right? Now, in the reference image, his arm is kind of bent here, but in the gesture, I want to pull it up some more and carry it higher to kind of emphasize it. And I'm going to use this hand to help point the eye in the direction of the dough, right? And then we could have the head and the eyes already looking at the dough. So usually when a character is looking in that direction, we tend to look in that direction too. So let's go. All right. We have him leaning back. Draw some surface lines there. Alright, I'll draw him with his kitchen apron on one time. Right, as I said before, I'm gonna carry his hand up a bit more. Right. I really want to emphasize it, so I'm gonna do some exaggeration. Right, and instead of having the dough spin straight like this, what I'm gonna do to create more movement is put it at an angle. Remember angles, right? So I think about all these things when I'm doing a gesture. So you'll have like a more diagonal angle here, right? This is where the hand would be. Get you some motion lines, right? We have his cap. Right, so I want his eyes to look directly at the dough. Right, so I'm gonna pull back this shoulder a bit and raise this shoulder. Right, so I'm already seeing stuff I could improve, but this is my first pass, so I could always go back and clean it up, but the main gist of it is there. So let me show you. So you have this main line going up here, right, and then it's interrupted by this line, but this line of the hand still carries your eye up this way. You have the eyes pointed towards the prop, and then you have this line. So you have this whole action of the body leading up into the dough, right? And if we were to put this in a silhouette, we would clearly see the dough high above the pizza guy, right? And if I were to draw out his whole body, I would probably give him like a really wide set stance, you know, just to make the silhouette stronger. Alright, so let's go on to another example. Right, so we have a more simpler one here with a girl reading a book. Alright, now let me break it down for you. This is the prop, is the main focus of the entire story. Everything else becomes secondary, right? We want to make it clear, we want to emphasize that she is reading this book intensely. You don't want to focus on too much detail that distracts away from this, right? So let's tackle it here. So we have the head, right? She's looking down. Now, if she's looking down, right, the back of her neck would be stretched and the inner part would be kind of shortened. So the back end would be longer here and the inner part here would be shorter because she's looking down this way into the book, right? She's gonna have a long neck there, and then that's gonna meet the shoulder, right? Now she's leaned up against the bookcase, right? So her flesh would squash down and create a kind of straight line, and you can see the fabric is doing it as well. So you're gonna have like a straight line here, right? And even where she's sitting here and her butt is meeting the ground, it's gonna be like flat. The same thing with the fabric. The fabric is doing the same thing. Alright. Squash and stretch through the legs. Right, and she has a nice pose here with her feet because her feet are not doing the exact same thing. One is on top of the bookshelf and one is flat on the ground. So I don't really have to do much exaggeration there. I wouldn't change that. Right, and we have her hand coming down here to hold the book. Alright. Now I'm gonna draw in the face before I draw the book, just so I have an idea what she's looking down at. Keeping everything simple for now. Alright, so she's looking down here, so you can see there. So I'm gonna put the book there. Right, actually gonna make it curved instead of a really straight book. That way you can get a nice arrow pointing in here into the story, as well as the eyes going in there. Right, so let me make that more appropriate. Right, actually I'm gonna open the book a little more. And then we can add here. Alright, so you can always clean up this later. You don't have to worry about the sketchy lines and stuff, because you could always clean it up later, or you could always do another sketch. Right, because once gesture is more of capturing the idea and the essence, right? And once I'm happy with the gesture, then I could go in and put in like all the cleanup lines, all the other details that I want to add. And the main thing is to focus on the story. What's important in this scene or in this gesture, right? We're not worried about every fold in her clothes. We're not worried about, the anatomy and stuff like that. Don't be too caught up in all of that. It is important, but not at this stage. At this stage, we focus on what is important, not the prettiness, not the sprucing up. We're not gonna hide bad drawings behind details, Alright? I went a little overboard there with the bookshelves. But let's go again. Again, simple. Main focus of the story here. The character is focused on here, right? How do we emphasize that? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna probably push her neck down some more, right? So she'll be like even more into what she's drawing, right? So you have a real intense really focused. I pushed it even more compared to the reference. So in my own, she's even more focused on what she is drawing, because I pushed the neck further along this way into the prop. Right? So you have a more intense focus on the prop. Right? This one was really, really simple. And you could even push it more. You could even make it more intense. Like, let me show you. Like, if you wanted to make it like really, really cartoony, and push her head even more, like even really, really more closer to the page, like she could smell the paper. It's almost as though she's an archaeologist dusting off the ancient dust from a script. And she's so deeply engrossed in what she's doing. Right? Like it's even more intense than the first one. So you see how I pull the shoulders back and I push the neck forward, and you get that really intense focus on the prop, what she's drawing. That's really, really intense there. Right? That's super intense. Let's do one more, but with two people. So we have two girls here at a campfire. Main focus here, both of them looking here, right? We have a nice lean this way from the first girl, so she's leaning forward. We're gonna emphasize that, and she is more relaxed, right? But we have a nice tilt of the head, as though she's trying to still see how the coffee is being poured into her cup. So this silver container is probably blocking her view, so she probably wants to see. So she has a slight tilt in her head there. So let's try and push all of those things. So I have one character leaning forward, right? In this direction, right? She has this hand propping her up for balance, and she is stretching out this hand to pour the coffee, right? Actually, I don't like. I'm actually gonna push the legs. Her legs are bunched up a bit, but I want to emphasize that she's stretching throughout her whole body. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stretch out the legs in that direction and pull the second leg back. Alright, so by doing this, right, I would actually get, let me just create some space there. I'd actually get the feeling of her entire body stretching in this direction, so you get this nice directional flow of her entire body going to pour the what looks like coffee, right? So we could do the next girl now, and we have that nice tilt of her head. Alright, so I may need to pull her back a bit. For the cup to fit. Now you see, when you're using reference, you don't have to copy the image, you know. As I said before, we're not here out to copy images. We're here to push the story. Alright? And the models and the reference images we have, you know, they're just there to help us, but we're not there to just copy them, you know. We're seeing more than just what they're showing us, right? Right. To get that tilt, you know, you need to draw a little head slant a little bit to get the feeling of the tilted head. Alright. Gonna draw her back a little more pointed in this time. So, and I'm gonna add a little tilt to her head. It's pretty enthusiastic about pouring this cup of coffee. Alright. It's nice. And if I were planning on drawing out this entire scene, I would actually, to make the silhouette better, I would actually put the fire here, so it would have a nice clean silhouette and a better composition. Show some wood and overlap to show that it's a bit in front of them, you know. that will be a tale for another class. So yeah, so as you see, I was using the reference images and I was analyzing them. First, I realized, okay, what's the main focus in this reference image? How can I push the story and the gesture to help, our audience see what we're trying to tell them, because we're trying to communicate to our audience, hey, this is the most important thing in the scene, right? And once you see that, then you could look at the secondary things in the scene and then everything else. But we want you to see this first, and you have to see it. You can't move on without seeing it, otherwise we fail, right? So when drawing props, make sure they're clearly seen. The gesture helps push the prop forward, and your lines converge. You push the gesture to help your audience see the story you're trying to tell. So what we're gonna do now, as usual, I'm gonna give you some reference images for your assignment. You have to practice doing the gestures of these images. Again, don't worry about too much detail. Focus on the gesture and focus on, specifically in this assignment, the props and the story of the prop with the gesture, right? I will be drawing these along with you so you can actually see how I approach it, and you can keep retrying if you think you need to do it over and over and over until you get it, and you'll have my interpretation to help guide you, so you could refer back, if you need to. And I forgot to mention before, if you need to take your time and draw the gesture, that's okay. For now, you don't need to draw it as fast as I am drawing. If you need to pause the video and draw the gesture, go right ahead. There is nothing wrong with doing that right now. We're not focused on speed right now. It's more on focusing on the story. So let me stop blabbering on and let's get on to the assignment, because this is how you're gonna learn, by doing.